You enjoy that?
I'm kind of sad that I fixed my audio issues now because it would have been so much funnier if I just responded to that in...
You sound like Samuel Hayden from Doom, but like that filter applied like 4 or 5 times.
It's... oh, man. If you've ever played like old pinball machines, like I used to be really into pinball.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Remember the what was the name of it? Something bot. It was like a robot one, and there was a couple. There's a Pinbot. I'm pretty sure it was. All the voice lines for Pinbot sound like that.
Yep.
Where it's just like It's just all real fucking.
For those listening at home, we did like an audio test before we started, which is literally just us having a conversation like, oh yeah, you ready to go? Do you want to change anything? And Titan came on. It sounded like you had like voice mod enabled, like a voice changer. And your voice sounded like one of those old pinball machines, like incredibly robotic.
It was fucking weird.
It completely took me by surprise. It was insane. You want to lead us in?
Oh, mate, I don't know. I kind of want to try and get back to my robot voice now. It could be funny to do the podcast in that.
I think you'd probably make a couple of very angry listeners that'd be at home.
Why is the sound so trash?
How did they go from having a decent sound setup to having something that is like not even garbage? It's like deliberately shitty.
It's like fucking like late 80s vocalized fucking video game, like digitized voice in video games from the early 90s and shit.
Like a terrible version of Zordon.
Oh no. Welcome to NULLSCORE, a podcast where we make references to rock bands for boomers and somehow our audience still picks up on them. My name's Jim. This is my co-host Harold Faltermeyer. Would you mind walking me through your writing process for Axel F? That all just confused the fuck out of you, didn't it?
I took a small blue frog and a keyboard and a synth, and I just threw them all in a tumble dryer.
No. I asked for that. Do you know what I'm talking about or not? I don't know whether you...
Was it? Well, I'm from... wasn't there... There was an original Axel F and then they remade it with
a banana theme,
right?
Yeah. It's from a scene in Beverly Hills Cop where he jams a couple of bananas or something into... I can't remember if it was one or if it was a couple into the tailpipe of some cops that are following him.
Oh, right.
I think the music was only written for that one scene, but it ended up being like the music that everyone associates with Beverly Hills Cop. So,
right.
Yep.
There you go. So we have a bunch on the docket today, Titan. Now
we probably won't get to everything, but
that's true. But people that watch the video version of the podcast, you'll see scenes a little bit different. I've got daylight in my room. I was out and about yesterday, and then I was late to podcast this morning. So
mate, it's funny you say that because people who watch the video podcast have been the only people able to watch the podcast at all for a little while because neither one of us was uploading the audio, so I started.
That's right, yeah. So if you're an audio listener, hey, welcome back.
Fuck.
I'll have to look into it and make sure it's all bloody squared away.
No, I've been fixing it up. I've been going back and uploading them, and that reminds me, we got another Buzzsprout bill. I'm not even sure if I gave you money for the last one. I think it was like two bills ago or something that I gave you money. So I don't think people realize how much that actually costs. Like just
to host on other on the audio platforms, it's pretty tricky. Like you can do it yourself with like an RSS feed and stuff, but it's incredibly difficult. Or at least it seems complex from where I'm standing. I'm sure it could be done, but they make it pretty easy. So.
Well, yeah, they're kind of like not exactly one click, but I mean more or less they're basically a one click where you just
once you've got it sorted, they publish and distribute to all of the major platforms. So yeah, like it takes a little bit setting up. Once you've kind of got yourself into a rhythm, you can kind of just send it up and set it up. Not sponsored by Buzzsprout, by the way.
No, we just use their service. But that's all.
Yeah, and honestly, when we are, conscientious in using it, it works excellently. that's just me being slow.
Sorry if anyone who is watching this and would prefer to be listening. I'm sorry. We are fixing it. It's on its way.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's on its way. We'll have it sorted.
I think I could only upload 4 of them. Last time I could only put 4 up because of the limit. I didn't want to. I didn't want to push an extra charge. I'm like, oh well, it comes out of Hamish's money anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'll just
He'll
wait.
sort it out. So look, we'll get to it eventually. Hopefully, it should all be up there. We'll be able to get it all there. I'll see what kind of time frame it is, and we'll get it back.
The only reason I stopped earlier this week was because I hit the limit for the month. Otherwise, I would have just put the whole fucking lot.
Yeah, so the way that it works is they give you like a certain amount or a certain allotment of time that you can upload per month. That's the way that they manage their business model. It's not by number of files, it's by time, which makes sense because some podcasts are like 30,
I don't think the
40
time
minutes
thing
long.
makes sense either, though, because if the file size is, that's what they're hosting. They're hosting a file. So you would think that it would go off file size, which is dependent on, bit rate and, format and whatever else. So, the however many hours it is that they give us a month, it makes no difference what quality we do that in, because they're going off the amount of time, like the time of the file, not like the play time, not the fucking file size, which is what they're hosting. That doesn't make sense to me. It just seems backwards.
I mean, I suppose the alternate argument for that is you probably want good quality podcasts hosted with Buzzsprout, so then it works as like word of mouth marketing. But
I just
I'm
want
with
as many as much money as possible.
Yeah.
They're a business.
I don't know, man. I'm not a businessman. I'm a man of the law. That's my job.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there's a similar sort of situation with This is completely off topic, but have you seen the old movies, the Smokey and the Bandit movies? Just the first one, maybe. All right, well,
no.
He was the beer that he was hauling is Coors beer. You see it in a lot of American stuff. Not
it's like COR or something?
COORS, yeah. Not the silver label one that we have here, because that's the light, and I'm pretty sure that's brewed here. The gold label stuff, which has gone through many name changes, but usually you just hear it referred to as Coors Banquet.
Right.
That stuff is brewed only in one place. I think it's in Colorado. And they will only ship it as far as it can be kept cold enough to not go wrong. They don't allow it to get warm because apparently it fucks the taste. It has to be kept cold the entire time or else it's no good. It doesn't taste right.
Right. So they're very, very careful about how that's done.
And they're very picky about where it's allowed, where it will be sold, because if they can't guarantee the quality of it at the other end, they don't want to
sell it.
They don't want to sell it. Yeah, they'd rather not take money than have somebody, drink it and it doesn't taste right, and they go, I've had Coors, it was shit. It's fucking rubbish, mate. Bin water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what you're getting at. They want to make sure that people think about what they're posting. Don't just throw up any old trash.
Yeah. That and they don't just friggin' compress the living shit out of it. So you get the crackly stuff in your ears and whatnot. I feel like that could definitely
throw your podcast up at 96.
Oh. Yeah,
well, I mean, look, anyone listening on Apple earbuds isn't going to notice anyway, so.
Oof, shots fired. Oh, man, that's something we should bloody mention as well.
Shots fired, yeah. Let's go into your first thing here.
Okay, all right.
So you want to talk about Fortnite? I don't.
Well, okay, look, I don't know. I mean, it sort of is about. Anyway, look, okay. On the docket today, we have me picking a fight on Twitter. I got into a little bit of I'd say it was an argument or a scrap with Sam Woodhull, who is Harris Heller's editor and the guy that does a lot of the graphic design stuff.
He's annoying anyway.
For him.
I don't watch the videos he's in.
Apparently, you want to address an issue where you were scratching your neck. Shroud has come back to Twitch. Yep. We unfortunately burnt the title Return of the King when Doc was back to streaming, so now we're going to have to come up with something much cooler.
Yeah, I don't know if I like my working title. I might change it.
We'll find something good in there. And also, you were banned in PUBG.
Yeah, I got a 3-day ban.
So, lots of things that we need to talk about. I'll tell you what. How about we start with this fight that I say fight. I just had I had basically a disagreement with the man, right?
Yeah, go on.
Look. Here's the thing. at the outset, I like Sam Woodall's work, right? The widgets that he's created and the design or the approach that he has to design is awesome. I really, really like it. It's very clean and he makes shit that works. Yeah? However, right? It's 21 hours ago now, right? But it was yesterday while I was at the races, right? Now, I'm not a huge gambling guy, right? I went out to some horse races with people I work with because they wanted to go out and, you go to the races, you get dressed up and you drink in the day, right? All in all, it's not a bad event, right? But I'm not a huge gambling guy, so once I get to the races, all I can do is basically drink and sit in the sun, right? Which, for extended periods of time, is not always... Yeah, exactly. It's not really an excellent combination.
Let me just dehydrate myself in 2 ways simultaneously.
Yeah, so naturally my response was to, move towards the shade and kind of just piss about on my phone while I'm drinking bloody, Canadian Club in a suit, right? And by the way, this is Mount Isa, okay? So it's not even like regular hot drinking in the sun. It's like
super fucking hot
drinking in the sun. Yeah. And I'm in a suit.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Dude, look, Red wanted to go. There's just sometimes when your partner wants to go, you just go because it's going to cause you less trouble in the long run. It's like 3-4 hours. And I get to drink. It's not all that bad, right? So anyway, whilst I'm there, Sam puts up this tweet and he says... Stop thinking you deserve more viewers. Your hard work will speak for itself, right? Now, I read that and I took it a little bit differently to what I think he intended, right? And I'll kind of read it out and I'll explain to you my logic, right? So I responded with, that Eric Andre gif where he says, why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? I responded with that and I captioned it and said, this is an unpopular opinion that no one has posted to Farm Interactions before. Revolutionary. Okay? Dripping in sarcasm. All right? And then he comes back. He replied to me, right? And he says, then why to reply to it? And then he puts a couple of dots and a question mark. Now, Ponageddon jumps in here and tries to help me out. And he says, because he's an entertainer. Right?
Yeah.
And then I come back with and I say, look, I agree with the idea, but this sort of thing always comes across as incredibly condescending from larger creators. Just try harder, small timer, is probably not what you meant to say, but that's exactly what I read when I read that tweet, right?
Yep.
Stop thinking you deserve more viewers. Your hard work will speak for itself, right? Now, he comes back, he says, thanks, I'm not a large creator. Crying, smiling, laughing emoji. He says, it's actually in response to people criticizing larger creators such as Dr. Disrespect and PewDiePie saying that other creators deserve it more. I've come back, I said, you're a large creator. You're known in the space and people care what you have to say. You are right about Pewds and the Doc, though. Those guys have worked for years to get there and they have incredibly valuable content. Just don't shit on the little guy to make your point. And he says, I'm not sure where or why you read that in my tweet. I said your hard work will speak for itself, not you're not working hard enough. Please feel free to unfollow if you consider that condescending.
Well, that's what it implies.
It's merely a way to encourage hard work, not entitlement. Yeah. And so I said, the natural follow-on from hard work will show results is a lack of results indicates a lack of hard work.
Yep.
Therefore, small streamers are slackers. I also don't need to hate you because you said one thing I don't agree with on Twitter. I said, to be clear, I don't think you're a bad dude. I agree with the idea behind what you said. The way you phrased it just seemed contemptuous, right?
Yep.
So, all things considered, I think I handled myself in a pretty upstanding manner, right? I didn't descend to the level of a Twitter gremlin, okay? But... the idea there, and I really wanted to put it in front of you because I wanted to see whether you picked up on the same vibe that I did. In that when he says, stop thinking you deserve more viewers, your hard work will speak for itself, right? Now, if he was anyone other than Sam Woodall, right? Let's say that he was, Ling, right? So we have a guy that we know mutually, Ling, he sits in about the 20 viewer bracket, right? Now, if Ling said that, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's solid, right? Realistically, what he's saying there is if you work hard, you'll find success, right? There's nothing wrong with that statement, right? But when you're as established as Sam is in the space, and he tries to argue that he's not a large creator, I absolutely disagree with him.
No, he is.
Right? I think by association with Harris Heller, he's known in the space, and his opinion is very well respected, right? It's very much like Harris in that even though his audience perhaps might be smaller than someone like, oh God, I don't know, Loserfruit, right? Loserfruit has 2K viewers. She's a female Australian streamer. She's considered one of the biggest, right? 2K is not even crazy, I think. She might have greater numbers than that. Last I checked, she was at 2K. She might have been playing an off game or something like that. Harris has like 800-900 viewers nowadays, but because he's positioned himself as an authority on streaming and like giving streaming advice, his voice, when he says something, it carries a lot more weight than, say, Tyler One screaming something, right? So Sam's like, oh, I'm not a large creator. I mean, your viewership might not be as great as some other people, but because you have that influence in your brand and your association, you are a large creator. Your voice matters, right? When you're in that position, right? When you're in the position where you're an established name, maybe, I don't want to say on top of the ivory tower, but certainly that's what it looks like from down below in the slums where we are, then you really sort of, as much as I think you want to give, as much as I feel like that's, he wants to give advice and he wants to do it in the format that, doesn't make him sound all bloody whimsical and flowery. It's supposed to be some tough love. It just sounds like he's spitting on the little guy. At least that was the opinion I got.
Was his tweet about streamers or content creators as a whole?
There's no context to that. He clarifies to say that it's about people saying that PewDiePie and Dr. Disrespect shouldn't get the viewers that they should. Other creators deserve it more, right? So those viewers should naturally go over to these other people. That's bullshit, right? The doc's been working for 10 years to get to where he is, and PewDiePie, I think, has been on YouTube for like 11, 12 years now.
Quick, where's the Joker gif where he's saying you get what you fucking deserve?
Yeah, exactly. That's it, yeah. So he's like, here's the thing, and a lot of there's two things I have to point out, and I think a lot of people don't immediately get. Like, I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast, they're rational human beings and they can separate it, but generally Twitter gremlins can't. The first is that disagreeing with someone and disliking them are two different things, right? You don't have to dislike someone in order to disagree with them. By the same token, if you don't like someone, that doesn't mean you automatically have to disagree with everything that they said, right? Like, if you don't like PewDiePie and PewDiePie goes, man, breathing is good, and you're like, oh, fuck that, fuck breathing. PewDiePie's a fan of breathing, fuck that, I'm gonna hold my breath, I'm gonna suffocate. I'm not over this mainstream shit, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The second thing is I agree with what Sam is saying, right? I agree with the idea that hard work should result or should give you results, right? Especially in social media today, consistency and frequency of upload and positioning yourself so that you are working smart as well, not just hard. Maybe I'm contradicting myself in saying that working hard only will get you nowhere. You need to work smart and hard. But the way that you say that from your position needs to be, you need to consider that in the way that you communicate. And I think...
Give me a sec, dude. 2 seconds.
Go.
Cat, God fucking damn it. Piss off then.
I have no idea what happened. I just... Thump, thump, cat.
Thump, thump, cat. No.
Yeah. I just think it was a little bit over the top. What do you think, man? This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to pass it to you. I'll tell you what. I'll link it to you in the bloody.
I think him saying that what he said is fine, and is true, but to then play it off as saying, I'm not a big creator, that's bullshit. You are a big creator through association to Harris. If he wasn't associated with Harris, I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't know who he was. But
yeah, that also. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
how it is.
I don't want to take that away from him either. I don't want to be like. Oh,
it's not
Harris
to say that he's bad. It's not to say that anything he does is bad.
No.
A lot of his work that he's done for Harris has been good. I don't like his personality. I don't know why every time I watch a video and I start listening to him speak and watch his facial expressions, I'm out. I check out immediately. I'm like, no, Sorry. I don't know. And I'm sure there's heaps of fucking people who are the same way with me. Don't like my voice or my fucking face or whatever. They're gone. That's fine. You're allowed to...
You can separate an artist from the work, though. I feel like
of course. I like his work. Yeah. I just can't be fucked watching him as a creator. That's all. That's all. That's like, man, there's so much music that I could listen to, and then whenever I've seen an interview with the people who created it, I'm like, oh Christ, like that's it. I don't want to I don't give a shit about anything that comes out of their mouth if it's not them singing.
Yeah. That was one of the. Sorry, go on.
The other thing is, what you were saying. You can disagree with someone and not,
Yeah, you don't have to hate them.
We disagreed on something very, very early on, which was we still have a fucking list of ideas that we haven't acted on. And because of the way that our lives work, we don't have time to edit videos like that. Like the scale of what these videos would call for, neither one of us has time to sit down and edit those videos. And I wanted to get someone else in. And your stance was you felt as though you wanted to keep all that editing in-house with yourself, and that was fine. So we just didn't do some of those videos. You later on changed your mind. Yeah. And that's the thing. You have to give people, you can't just fucking hate someone because they, or, be pissed off at them because they have a different opinion, especially not when it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't matter what the other person thinks. You can still be friends with them as well. Mate, I think that chicken twisties are a fucking stain on this earth and should be removed completely.
You're wrong.
But Sinead fucking loves them, though. Yeah, Sinead fucking loves them. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, oh, Christ, no, I'm sorry, I can't.
That's it. Sorry. It's been fun.
Give people,
I really liked meeting your parents. See ya. Bye.
I'll come by for my stuff sometime next week, the things that I've left at your place. By putting them in a pile so it's easier. I don't have to spend too much time around your fucking tainted chicken twisty house. But you get what I'm saying. Like, you changed your mind later on. You eventually, I feel like you eventually came to see things from my perspective, where it's just like, this is not sustainable. Can't do this anymore. No, the videos that you wanted to put out, there's no way you would have been able to put out as often as you wanted and to the quality that you wanted.
It's also because I'm just super picky. Like, if you've ever seen my videos, I'm like, they're not the greatest edited things in the world, but I put far more effort into them than just uploading a gameplay. Like,
you put far more effort into them than the vast majority of YouTube channels, gaming YouTube channels.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of high-end stuff like, tech YouTubers and shit. They do really, really good jobs. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, look, frankly, if you're in the tech space, you probably should be doing a good job.
What's his name? Brian, the bad seed tech guy. I fucking love his edits, man. Like, sometimes I watch his videos, not because I don't even give a fuck about the keyboard or whatever that is.
They're just pretty.
Just his videos are really fucking good. The attention to detail is really good.
The other one is Marquez Brownlee. Have you ever watched one of his videos?
No.
They sound incredible with a good pair of headphones. He does a really good job of audio leveling and video and that sort of stuff. He's very, very cool. But that's besides the point. I think the point here is you can disagree with people and not hate them simultaneously, and you can separate the artist from the work, right? I use Sam Woodall's widgets in my stream. I'm pretty sure that he's coded stuff. Hargles has gone in and tweaked them.
Yep.
To like suit my color scheme and, changed fonts and whatnot. But they're all tools that he's probably built into the bot in the first place. So it's like, I have a great respect for him in the content creator space. And I think that's why I was so disappointed. Is that, you once you're in this position of power and influence, I think to then say something like that. And again, I don't think he intended to do it. It's just how it came out, right? And it's like,
well, that's okay, Hamish. You'll feel better later on when he admits he's wrong and changes his mind, the same way I did when you later said, I'm getting someone else to edit my videos.
That's it. That'll be my redemption arc.
You'll be like, yes, I got him. No, I don't really give a shit.
All right.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think he's wrong. I think I don't know. I feel like he probably felt called out by you a little bit. So he was like, I'm not a big creator. Like, what do you mean? How can you argue that you're not a big creator?
I'm also like, I think it's probably due to the fact that, I mean, I like, this is what I do for a living. I argue points for a living, right? Like, if you look at all of my tweets like directly address the things that he says,
yeah,
right? I don't just like go off and call him a fuckwit and tell him that he's stupid.
Funny.
And, you know,
it's funny watching people argue with you on Twitter, and I'm like, oh man, like within one or two responses from them towards you, I'm like, well, you've just given him an opening, and now he's going to fucking cane you in front of all of your followers. You're arguing with a lawyer, and you don't even realize it. You didn't bother to open his fucking profile and have a look. Who is this guy? It says that you're a lawyer. Why would you bother?
It's like, and here's the thing, right? The trick to winning like an argument in that scenario is just focus. Yeah? What you need to do is you need to bring it down to like its core components and say, this is the problem. This is what we're talking about. If you start to get convoluted and messy, people won't be able to follow what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's like he says in a tweet, he goes, haha, thanks, I'm not a large creator, crying, laughing emoji. Which, by the way, was also pretty fucking condescending. Can I say that from a small guy perspective? It's like, you know, then what am I? Am I a nano creator? Like, where do I fall into the spectrum? And then the first thing I've said is, you're a large creator, full stop. That's it. It's not, you're wrong, you're stupid, you're wrong, you're stupid for being wrong. I was just like, no. That's incorrect. You are a large creator. Yeah. People care about what you have to say. And that's a very difficult position to defend from his perspective, because then it's self-depreciating if he then wants to argue that point, which is how you work, you know, positioning in negotiations. There you go. Fucking this is what I do for a living. Yeah. And look, I'm not out there to make him look like an idiot or destroy him. Right?
How many years of uni or fucking whatever? How many years of doing law, studying and practicing now?
All in all, probably 6 or 7.
Yeah. How much time has he probably spent doing that?
Well, I mean, as long as his social media career has been enough for him to deal with Twitter trolls. So, yeah. I mean, and a year, 2. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, say somewhere in the 3-4 bracket.
I don't think dealing with Twitter trolls is quite the same. Like, I mean, defending yourself, I feel like doesn't carry as much. Like, I don't give a shit that much. This is something that I say all the time, and I feel like people think I'm joking, and I'm absolutely not. I don't fucking care if someone doesn't like me for the wrong reason. I don't fucking care. It does not. I don't lose any fucking sleep over that. I've cut friendships that I had for years because the friend was being a fucking idiot, and I didn't feel bad about it. Yep. I didn't think about it any further than that. So I think in your case, you're arguing for other people's lives, and that would bother me a lot more than arguing for my own sake. Like, you can't fuck it up. You've got another person's future.
Well, people literally go to jail.
Hands. Well, yeah, they either if you fuck up badly enough, you can fuck someone else's life up significantly.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is I'm also just used to being in that scenario. I don't get angry. I don't take things personal. And at the end of the day, you'll find a lot of, like, especially with my personality, like, I'll be up at the bench in court, and I'll say that, you know, the ideas the prosecutors got are stupid. Like, the case that they've got is useless. These are the reasons why. These are the reasons why their point doesn't make any sense. Here's the reason why my points make sense, right?
Yep.
You do that in any other environment other than a courtroom, like at a family gathering, people would get stabbed, right?
Oh, they
you do that in a courtroom, but that's the thing. And then you walk out of the room and you turn to the other guy, and it's maybe it's just a personality thing that we have, but you walk out of the room and you go, man, that was a good scrap. And the other guy goes, yeah, dude, that was crazy. I thought he was going to go to jail. I was like, man, I thought he was going to jail too. It's a very collegiate kind of, like, you can separate work and people. Yeah. In that sort of way. Like the argument is a thing in and of itself. Yeah. It's like when they talk about like sports, you say you leave the game on the field or something like that. It's the same sort of thing.
It's funny because like I feel like that makes more. It always used to bother me in like movies and shows and stuff where like the lawyers come out of a court and they're fucking hating each other, and I'm like, why would they care?
No. You don't do, you like, I have prosecutors, right, that I see day in, day out. And these are the people that are responsible for like putting my people, in jail or refusing them bail, right? Yep. But I see these people every day, right? Like I know them and I work with them, and having a positive relationship with those people makes everything run smoother. Yeah. Like if I have a guy who's been picked up, God knows, that he's smashed a bunch of windows, right? Yeah. And I talk to him and he says, "Oh, I actually didn't smash a bunch of these windows. Like I smashed this window, but I didn't smash all of those windows." I can then go to that prosecutor and say, "Hey, this dude's pretty straight up, says he smashed this one, but not the other ones. Can you just have a chat to the officer and see whether he's happy for him to just plead out for the one window he does smash? Because he'll just pay for the damage." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And you can't do that if you have a very negative relationship. Like the prosecutor will just tell you to fuck off and they'll just keep running the charge. And then you got to go to a contested facts hearing and you've got to fight over it and it's a whole big deal, right? Yep. That doesn't mean that you don't defend your client to the best of your ability, right? Once you get in the room, it's your job to get in and get out there, right? Yeah. But you still have a positive relationship with these people because it benefits you and the client in the long run. Yep. There's no need for you to alienate everybody. Anyway, that's just, little window into how lawyering has helped me get into fucking Twitter fights. I'm using my powers for good, clearly. I'm also conscious of the fact of how petty this seems all in all.
It can definitely see that way. It can definitely seem that way from other people. But I mean, at the same time, like, you've got to... You're arguing with a larger creator.
I'm punching up.
You're doing it publicly, though, and you're doing it... I don't know. Like, anyone who sees that, who agrees with you, is more likely to come and check you out. Like, it's not pointless.
It's not pointless, and I'm also at pretty significant risk of getting ratioed. Like, and ratioed, if you're not unfamiliar, is the term where somebody with a larger following will simply get more support behind their point because their fan base is present and is able to view your argument, yeah?
Because their fan base mindlessly likes everything they tweet without fucking reading it properly.
Yeah. So ratio comes from the idea that more people will like the response that is more popular, yeah? So, or correct or whatever, right? So this is exactly why you don't pick a Twitter fight with XQC, right? XQC's fan base is so rabid and so numerous that you will just be ratioed every single fucking time. That man tweets in all caps. Have you seen his stuff?
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
He literally does not tweet anything else. He just tweets in all caps. His titles, all caps. Everything, all caps. It's incredible. In any event, I feel like it's about time for an ad read.
What do you mean? Do you want a cup of coffee that'll help keep the urges to murder your co-workers at bay?
I wouldn't mind that. I'm going to be completely honest. I wouldn't mind that at all. Do you want a cup of coffee that will make you feel like you could 1v1 the fucking sun?
Oh, if only Icarus fucking had that, mate. He would have...
Icarus would have smashed it.
Do you want a cup of coffee that's a replacement for roughly 4 hours of sleep per shot?
Honestly, though, usually jokes, but that's kind of like on point.
That's exactly how I use it, though.
Do you want a cup of coffee that looks your sleep paralysis demon in the face and goes, "Ha ha, caffeine, go brrr"?
Jesus, it's the same joke, pretty much.
It's the same joke. It's just one is straight up and one's a bit of a meme.
Killer Coffee won't do any of those things, but it is a good cup of coffee.
It's a damn good cup of coffee. I found out that one of the coffee joints up here sells Killer Coffee.
Oh, really? Fuck, man.
Yep.
I wish Perth would do that. We have such dumb fucking shitty coffees here.
Well, but like I didn't realize that this place has been a thing, right? So I've known it exists, but I hadn't gone in for like a year, right? It's called the Coffee Lab, right? I should have picked up on this way fucking earlier, okay? But I didn't. I'm a tired man most of the time, okay? And they literally have like 11 different types of beans that you can use to make your coffee. And then you've got like the coffee itself. And then they've also got like different types of milk. So they've got like almond, soy, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So it's very much like ground up exactly what you want from your coffee kind of experience. And they have the regular version of Killer Coffee as one of their beans.
The industrial, the brown bag?
Yeah, not darker side.
I mean, the industrial's really good.
I prefer the industrial. I'm going to be completely honest. I really, really like it.
Well, look, it's okay to be wrong. Remember the editing thing?
It's okay to be wrong. We can disagree, and we don't have to hate each other.
No, to be honest, I've said before that I do prefer the brown bag if I'm just going for flavor.
Yes.
But more often than not, I'm drinking the coffee because I feel like I've risen from my grave, so I need something to wake up. So the black bag is what I use.
It's the utility of the thing. Yeah. It's like when you play an RPG and you pick up all the clothing for their stat boosts, not their look.
Yeah.
So you get to the boss fight and you've got like a feather cap and fucking
kaleidoscope
goggles on.
You look like you've wiped a fucking 8-man D&D party and just took one item of clothing from each one of them and just slapped it on. You're like, yeah, fuck, these are all my trophies.
That's it. It's so good.
Oh Christ. Anyway, this place that only sells, they only have the incorrect killer coffee. Go on.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, that's kind of the story then and there. I just discovered that they have all of these various coffees open, and you pay a premium to drink a coffee there because I mean, fuck, they give you the option of like 12 beans and 6 different types of milk, and then how you want your coffee prepared, like flat white, long black, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just discovered that there's a place that does killer coffee now, and you can also order ahead, which is very, very cool. You can punch it in on your phone. So for someone like me in Mount Isa, where you get like a bunch of tradies and stuff that drink coffee, which by the way is like an Australia thing. By the way, like I was talking to people from other countries, and like tradies like in other countries will like they have this idea where it's like they'll like have a cigarette for breakfast and then continue on, or they'll have like soft drinks or whatever like that. There's like that classic sort of stereotype. Whereas over here, it's like, yeah, an ice break and 2 sausage rolls is
fucking
like
ice break and a pie or something. Fucking sausage roll.
Yeah, like good coffee, like milk-based.
Wait, we have to settle this. Is it pasty or pasty? No, there's a correct answer to this.
I'm pretty sure it's pasty, right?
No. Get out of here. You're not a real Australian.
That's it. Oh, wait. Hang on. We just disagreed on something. Sorry, Jim. I hate you. Podcast is over. But, yeah. So, apparently that's an Australian thing, is our obsession with coffee is like a whole thing. Like, a lot of countries just don't have cafes. Do you know that?
What? Say that again.
Yeah,
I don't know if I heard that correctly.
Like some countries just don't have cafes. Like, it's just not a thing. So like we have like cafe food, like grabbing a fucking toasted sandwich and a coffee and like running off.
Or like a shitty roll where the bun's hard and the insides are soggy because it's been sitting out for too long.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like some countries just don't have that. Like they'll have like a diner, where you could get like maybe a donut or something and run off. But otherwise you're either like, you're sitting down basically. Like in the States, it was very, very difficult to get like breakfast to lunchish sort of food without having to sit down and have like a full-on cheeseburger, and not like a Macca's cheeseburger, like a burger that's like too big for your mouth to wrap around burger.
Man, this is making me sad.
Yeah, so like it's very difficult to find like cafe food sometimes. Like I'm not saying that
it is here now.
Have cafes.
There used to be so the American, like you see it in movies and TV shows and shit all the time, the whole diner thing where it's just open 24 hours. It's just constantly fucking open. You can walk in there anytime, get coffee, breakfast foods, or fucking whatever their menu has, you can just get it 24 hours.
Yeah.
There used to be a place here called Fast Eddie's.
Fast Eddie's, goddamn.
The one in the city used to be open 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was really good years ago. It started to go... Well, I don't know I don't know whether they lost their cook and they replaced him with a different one, and that's when it started going downhill, or whether it was when it came under new ownership. But those two things happened in quick succession, I think. And then the quality of the food went to shit, and then people stopped going there so much, and then it closed down. I used to drive there from, like, if I just couldn't fucking sleep, because and I've talked about it before, I have problems sleeping forever.
Yeah.
I can only sleep in like 4 to 6 hour blocks.
Yeah.
I can't sleep any longer than that in one hit unless I'm absolutely fucked or I'm sick. So if I just couldn't fucking sleep, if I went to bed too early, if I for some reason fell asleep at like 9 or 10 o'clock, I'm awake at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I can't go back to sleep. I have to do something. So I'd drive the 40 odd minutes into the city and just go get a fucking full breakfast at like 2 a.m.
That's awesome.
I did it so many times. Now I can't do that. There's fucking nowhere open that does anything like that now. And it was very similar to that. It's one of those places that has like, there's every now and then you find a place that's just full of like old 50s and 60s memorabilia, like car stuff, old gas station signs and road signs
and like
from America.
like Harley Davidson.
Yeah, all
merch.
that sort of shit. Mack trucks and fucking Chevrolet and Ford stuff. All that shit all over the fucking walls. It had that kind of vibe to it. But the food was really good. And then it was not really good. It was okay. Then it started to be kind of shit, and now it's gone. And there's nothing else around that just sort of replaced it. That's just so strange to me because Perth's not getting smaller. There's more people. Like the population here is getting bigger, so there's always people around. Why would you not have a place like that? Like obviously it made money for years, or else they wouldn't have been running it 24 hours.
It's probably just because it runs on rep. I think a lot of places like that either succeed based on location or reputation.
Well, the location was the middle of the fucking city, so there was obviously people always around.
Yeah, but like if your place is the only like the first place in walking distance from like the clubbing district, and it's 24 hours, you'd make bank. You'd have to set it up so your security was good, but you'd make bank.
It wasn't. It's a little bit of a trek from I think like Northbridge is where most of that shit is, and you would have been like if you were walking drunk, that's a bit of a fucking drunk walk, man. Like if you're drunk enough, you might not notice, but if you're a little bit sober, you're like, fuck, I'm not walking there. Fuck that.
Yeah, but that's like part of the thing. It's like if you're the first place, right? Like if you're the first place that they, on that trek, people might just stop there. Like that's the thing. So that's why you see all these like tiny little shitty kebab joints that are in like tiny little hole in the wall lease spaces. Yeah. Because they just have the real estate there is so valuable. But yeah, I mean that's like the Pancake Manor in Brisbane. That place is always packed. Like it's 24 hours. People go in there for like a proper breakfast. They have this like they have this like potato pancakes, by the way, which you think sound like a rosti, but they're like pancake temperature. I'm trying to explain this. Anyway, it's gross.
I thought you were describing something that was going to be really good, and you're like, anyway, it's gross.
No, it's disgusting. It's horrible. They have this thing, it's like the classic or something like that, and I've had it there, and it's bloody horrendous. They've got other stuff, which is really, really good. All right, and I'm sure there's people out there that like their classic. Maybe I got a bad one. I don't know. But it's horrible. But they've locked it down in such a way that, like, on Sundays, there's, like, a line of probably 20 people waiting to get in. And then, like, at night, it's usually, like, half full. And when I say night, I mean, like, 2, 3 a.m. The reason why I know that is because I went down there for a conference, it was like, they call them conferences, right? But they just put a bunch of law students in a hotel, and everyone just like, they just argue during the day, and then you just drink and fuck at nighttime, right? Like it's a pretty good gig, right? And then there's like a Pancake Manor up, like 30, 40 meters up from the hotel. So when you like need to soak up all the tequila and stuff, that's where everyone would go. So you get these pretty hilarious scenes around about like June, July is when the conference usually goes down. You walk into the Pancake Manor at like 2, 3 a.m. and there's a whole bunch of people that are in like formal wear, but they look completely haggard. That'd be all the law students. Yeah. So they're like from like 6 till 9, they're like schmoozing with partners trying to get jobs. And then from about 10, they just want to drink their sorrows away. And about 3 a.m., they're all at Pancake Manor.
They're either celebrating or they're trying to fucking forget about the shitty day.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But they both do it the same way.
Yes, exactly.
A bunch of food and a bunch of fucking alcohol.
Yeah. Very, very unique experience to go in and see that. I would recommend for anyone that's a fan of people watching. Speaking of people watching and seeing weird things, you scratching your neck in the last podcast. Did this cause an issue, or what's the go?
For me, it did. I was rewatching the footage and like editing it. And I was like, why do I keep like? I didn't realize that I keep reaching back like behind, like onto my shoulder, like and behind my neck, and I'm like scratching.
Right.
And the only reason it was a problem for me is because like 2 days ago I saw a video of I'm guessing it was like a meth head or something, and they'd been scratching the same spot that I was so much that they'd like worn all the skin down. It's this huge patch of like skin that was just gone, and it was all like bleeding and shit. And I was like, holy fuck. Over. And it wasn't until like I remembered that I had been scratching the same spot on the podcast. I was like, holy fuck, like I looked like a fucking like I look like an addict of some sort. And I realized that it's because before the podcast, I didn't do it today. Like it's all kind of stubble there, but before the podcast, because I had time, I like shaved. I usually like neaten up underneath the bottom of my beard and shit, and cut what doesn't need to be there from around my neck. Yeah. And when I did it, I obviously didn't like wash it off properly because I was in a hurry. I was like, I gotta get this done, make my coffee, and fucking sit down. So there was like all these little dry fucking stubbly bits of hair. Just somehow I'd tried to brush them off, and I just moved them from the front of my neck to the back with the towel. So I spent the whole podcast just like scratching my fucking shoulders and neck, like trying to get these itchy fucking hairs off me. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I just watched the footage and I was like, oh Christ. As if I don't already look like enough of a meth head half the time. And I'm sitting there fucking scratching.
Have I? Man, I swear I've told you this story before about the guy in the watch house, the meth head in the watch house.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, if I say 50-cent piece, does that jog your memory?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, all right. I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm gonna pre-warn you, and I'm gonna pre-warn the listeners on the gross scale. On a 1 to 10, this is a 9 at least.
Okay.
All right. So if this is not your cup of tea, just skip ahead like 5-10 minutes in the podcast. All right. But me being a junior solicitor that I am, right, I'm often assigned to perform duty lawyer services, right? Now, I do this more regularly as a form of my employment now that I work for the company that I work for. But back when I worked in private practice, this wasn't mandatory. Like, this wasn't the thing that we did. You did it because it was a way of bringing in clients when you have no reputation, right? The most valuable thing to you as a lawyer is word of mouth. People will say, oh, yeah, I got caught doing blah, blah, blah. I went to such and such lawyers. It cost me an arm and a leg. Fuck that guy. But I didn't go to jail, right? And so then the next guy gets into that scenario, and then he goes to you, right? And then you can charge the bejesus out of him.
Scumbags is valuable to you. Like,
it's incredibly valuable, dude. It's legitimately, if you do a good job on like certain hearings, it's worth like, people have done the work, like people have done the research. It's worth like 30-40 grand.
Jesus.
In referrals over time. It changes based on regions, but you know. Anyway. I did duty lawyer. Now, duty lawyer is the Australian equivalent of like America's public defenders, right? Mm-hmm. When they read you your Miranda rights and they say, you have the right to an attorney. If you do not have one, one will be provided for you. The attorney that is provided for you is a public defender. For us, that is either a legal aid duty lawyer or an ATSL's duty lawyer. It depends on what state you're in, but in Queensland, you split them up those ways. Legal aid is a service provided to every person, no matter what. ATSL's is for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people specifically, right? The lawyers there are trained in cultural competence, like me, right? So you're able to deal with certain scenarios you might not otherwise and have the knowledge to deal with.
Yep.
Right? So I was duty lawyer in private practice back in Brisbane, and I went down to the watch house, and I was relatively junior at the time, so I was probably in the business for about 6-7 months. Yeah? So when you do duty lawyer, you go down there, you go down into the cells, they put you in a little box separated by a glass window, like in the movies where you see people on the phones talking to people across the glass. And then you take your instructions from them. Usually if they're in the watch house, you probably make a bail application, right?
Yep.
So it takes you about, depending on the complexity of the matter, it can take anywhere from like 4 minutes to half an hour to take instructions. Usually as duty lawyer, you want to be relatively quick. So you try to keep it to about 10 minutes a person, especially when you've got like 5 or 6 in custody.
Yeah.
If you want more time spent on your matter, generally you want to hire a private lawyer or, get some adjournments, let your public defender do their thing, right?
Yep.
In any event, I go down to the watch house. I see this guy, all right? And to give you a picture, he looks like he's in his mid-30s, right? Mm-hmm. And he is clearly coming down off something, right? When you kind of get used to seeing it, right? And I'm sure that a lot of people will sort of kind of recognize that meth head sort of vibe, but it's 2 things. It's one, it's an unnatural stillness accompanied by some fidgeting. So they're usually like
stillness.
Yeah, so like the core of their body will either be moving, but their extremities won't be, or it'll be the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's disconnected. Yeah. Yep. The other thing is the way that their focus works. So like the way that their eyes or their sort of like they'll turn to hear you is usually either 1, very sluggish, or 2, very transient. So they'll focus on you for a second and a half and then they'll kind of go elsewhere, right? Now, Obviously there's exceptions to these rules, but this is just what I've observed in my practice. I don't know whether that's medically accurate, but this is just what I've seen. Yeah?
Yep.
Anyway, I go in, I look at this guy, he's coming down off something. All right? The reason I know this is because his arms are very still, but his chest is moving very quickly.
Yep.
Right? He's not like hyperventilating. He's just kind of like shifting in his chair. He's rolling his shoulders. Like he's not able to sit still very well.
Yep.
And I talk to this guy and I'm like, hello, my name is Hamish. I'm here from XYZ law firm. I'm here to help you. I'm a lawyer. Do you know what you've been charged with? And this guy, it's almost like my words have just bounced off his forehead. Like he hasn't heard me. And so I said, do you know where you are? He's like, yeah, I'm in the watch house, right? I was like, okay.
All right.
I was like, right.
It's a good start.
Okay, so I know where we are now, right? Yep. When you deal with that sort of response, there's another thing you have to take into account, which is whether that person has the capacity to give instructions. Yeah?
Yep.
If they are too intoxicated or they're too they're under the influence of something, they can't reasonably provide you with instructions that are in their best interests, they're not capable of doing it, then one of the things you can do is just stand the matter down. Just say, I can't take instructions from this guy. Just hold him here until the afternoon. Maybe he sobers up a little bit, or maybe he needs to be kept in there overnight.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't take instructions from people that aren't sane.
Yeah, they're not able to make a decision,
exactly.
are they? Like, really?
Yeah. Now that threshold, sort of depends on what lawyer you're dealing with. A lot of people will say, "Oh, but there's a standard threshold where you apply the Presser test." Right, the Presser test is the formal version. I can tell you, if you go into a watch house, some lawyers will take your instructions no matter how drunk you are. Right. Yep. But some lawyers like me, I will go, I'm not so sure about it. Right? Maybe I'm still young and I haven't got jaded. Maybe I care too much. Maybe I'm being an idiot. I don't know. Right? But I looked at this guy and I had to figure out whether he was capable of giving instructions, right? So I look at him, I say, are you feeling all right? Are you doing okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, okay.
I mean, obviously you're not.
I don't necessarily believe you, right? Now I said to him, I was like, do you know what you've been charged with, right? And again, blank wall. Oh, sorry, I just bonked the thing. I said, well, you've been charged with possession of, utensil and possession of drug, right? Which will come as a major surprise to the listeners who have been listening to the story so far, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is where things get out of hand, right? And again, this is your warning, okay? So when you're in the watch house, you have 2 chairs. So my chair is on, I'm sitting on a chair, and then there's the glass wall, and then he's on his chair on the other side. His chair is more like a stool, right? It doesn't have a back to it. It's kind of just got the 4 legs and then the stool. He sort of crouches up on his stool and has his front arms grabbing the front of the stool. So he looks like a gargoyle.
Yep.
Right? So he's up on his on his heels basically.
Yep.
And he's got the front end with his hands, but his ass is facing towards me. Right?
All right. Well, I mean, look, you asked him if he knew where he was, and he knows he's in the watchtower, so he's becoming a gargoyle in the watchtower.
He's just becoming a gargoyle. So then he reaches behind him, right, and he's got these like, I call them prison slacks, right, but they're just like watch house clothing provided because they have to take away stuff with like cords so that you can't like injure yourself. He reaches behind, pulls down like the back end of his slacks, and rips a scab, probably the size of a 50-cent piece, from his left arse cheek. He rips it off with his hand, turns, locks eyes with me, and eats it. He eats the scab that he's just pulled off of his cheek, right? Immediately, I've gone, what in the absolute fuck, right? I've rung the intercom and I go to the officers. This man is clearly not in a position to give instructions. I can't see him, right? By the way, it makes a noise.
I know.
Okay, it's like a wet, crunchy sound. It's fucked.
Which part? When he peeled it or when he ate it?
When he ate it, it was like those, you know, those ASMR crunching videos, but it was like a soggy biscuit,
like a giant skim cornflake. Crunching.
It was disgusting. Anyway, get the officers down here. They're like, what happened? And I said, he literally just ate a scab the size of a 50-cent piece. And he goes, oh, yeah. So, and this is the wild part. The way that the reason he does that is because there's this perception. Now, somebody in my chat a couple of days ago told me that this isn't actually the case. It may not work this exact way, but clearly this bloke believed it, and some other people may as well. The reason they do that is because some of the amphetamine will crystallize in their blood if they're injured, right? Yeah. So for something like a graze, where you form a scab, there's still little amounts of amphetamine in that blood. And so by eating it or re-ingesting it, they get a second sort of like high of sorts, right? Now, the concentration isn't anywhere near the original source, but that's the general idea, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, somebody in chat pointed out that may not be correct. It could just be a placebo effect. The end result is he believed it so much that he tore a scab the size of a 50-cent piece from his ass and ate it in front of me.
That's what I was about to say. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If to a meth head, it's like, oh, fuck yeah, meth scab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I had to leave him in the watch house, and then I had to talk to the magistrate afterwards, and I said, I don't believe that he is in a stable state to give instructions. Thankfully, that magistrate was more than happy to remand someone overnight. He was just like, yep, cool, and he didn't need any more explanation. Because I honestly don't know how I would have been able to do that inside of a courtroom and not look ridiculous. Like, there's a certain, like, point where even if you are exactly telling the truth, it's still kind of like unprofessional. Like there are situations where you just have to say things, right? Like in situations where people have had arguments, like in contraventions of domestic violence orders, people will they'll call each other like horrible names, right? They'll be like, "Oh, you're such a grandpa fucker munger slut," right? And so you have to say those exact words in court. So you'll be like, "Look, Your Honor, my client did say that she was a grandpa fucker munger slut." To use his words. However, he was just incensed by the idea that she'd gone to a party or something like that, right? Like, you kind of have to say it. But there's a point where you kind of have to wonder whether going up to the magistrate and him going, oh, why is your client not able to give instructions, Mr. Viserys? And I'm like, because he ate a scab in front of me, Your Honor. There's a point at where it's too much. And I can't remember exactly how we got to that. But, the scratching with meth head. Yeah, but that reminds me of that story, which I refer to as my 50-cent piece story.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it was.
No.
It's pretty wild. I've had people ask me to tell more stories about work. And some of it's tricky because I have to, obviously protect people's confidentiality. But,
you'd have to wait until they're public matter, wouldn't you? You'd have to wait until it's way out
until they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could tell you what people have been charged with and stuff because that's a matter of public record before it's dealt with. But the facts of the matter until they're sentenced are still up for dispute.
Yep.
So You can't.
So you're
talk
not allowed
about
to
the
say,
facts.
"Oh yeah, he did this thing," because it's all you don't know yet.
You could. Well, I could phrase it in a way that says it's alleged that this person, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to say what my client says, right? Whether that's in line with what the facts are alleged to be, or whether it's against it, especially if it's against it. But
yeah.
Once it's a matter of public record, sure. But it's also just a matter of like you have to pick stories that are kind of benign as well. Like you don't want to tell stories that'll embarrass people, for no good reason.
Yeah, I guess so.
Again, a scab guy in the watch house. I don't think he cares.
I don't think he cares.
I think he's got bigger issues.
Definitely.
So there you go. Before we wrap this one up, are we going to talk about the fact that Shroud looks like Adam Sandler?
And Uncut Gems, yeah. I saw that. I thought that before I even saw anyone joking about it. I saw a picture of him come back and I was like, why did he in his break, did he watch Uncut Gems like over and over? And he's like, yeah, I want that. I want that fucking horrible goatee.
I think my favorite one was from the doc where he just posted the photo of it with no context. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
He just put up a photo of Adam Sandler with no caption or anything, and people understood exactly what he was saying. He did another one the other day where he did like a photo of him playing Call of Duty, and he just like spiked the gun out in a whole bunch of other different glitchy ways because I think the last update for Modern Warfare just like completely screwed it over. They added a whole bunch of bugs in.
I had installed that ages ago. I think it was whenever I noticed that there was an update. And the update itself was, I think it was going to replace the entire game. It was like 100 and something gigs. I was like, nah.
Yeah, Modern Warfare's pretty insane. They had like a 50 gig update the other day. Just
I might have been reinstalling it. I might have been looking at reinstalling it because there was an update and they said, oh, we've added this and fixed this. It's like, oh, okay, I'll give it another shot. 100 and something gigs. Like, nah, no thanks.
50 gig update. That's like 15, 20 indie games.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's just nuts.
Someone made a good point. I saw someone make the point that a lot of that file size is like high-res textures and stuff.
Yeah.
You should be able to pick when you go to install. Like really, really old installers for games used to give you options to what to install with the game, and used to be optional to install high-res textures and shit off the disc. If you weren't going to be playing them, you weren't going to be using them, selecting those options, you didn't install them. You could always come back and do it later on. You could modify the installation and add them. But you weren't forced to have them. This is forcing people, guys like like Corey. He's not going to be running the game at high res textures because he's playing it on a laptop.
No, he's on a
not
laptop.
Even a very great one.
Yeah.
Why does he need fucking 60 gigs of textures that he can't use? Just give us the option to install them or not. I'm playing the game at 1080. I don't need I don't need those huge fucking very high or whatever the fuck they are textures because I think I play the game at like medium or high anyway, or I was. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Shroud, man. Didn't he get more views than Doc on his return? Only just?
No, he had 7,000 less.
Did he?
Yes, but he wasn't fueled by a giant conspiracy.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
he was just
you
gone
can
for a
take
while,
it either way.
Then he came back.
I had like, man, again, Twitter, like, but it was like some post about the Doc coming back, and they were like, it was like Shroud coming back, and the numbers were different, and some guy was like, yeah, but like, the Doc has no personality. He has to come up with a character to do the personality part for him. Shroud has a personality. I was like, this is a really weird hill to die on.
So, I mean, I sort of understand what he's saying, but it's backwards. Like,
it's very backwards. The Doc has come up with incredibly strong personality.
Different, yeah. Like he's used elements of himself and then created a character based off like bits and pieces, and played up a whole bunch of other bullshit. Shroud is just Shroud. It's just him.
Yeah, Shroud's just Shroud. I guess his argument is authenticity, but it was just the weirdest phrasing.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what he was going for, but he said it the opposite way.
Yeah, he just said it completely the wrong way. Comments from the last video. Crazy
Mate,
Aussie.
There's no Eyehole Man. I'm so disappointed with that.
Yeah, Eyehole Man, a little mysteriously missing. If he listens to this one, my man,
Might have been busy.
we miss you. Come back. Crazy Aussie with another one of his comments that he notates as the video goes. He says, Intel and AMD CPUs may have the same instruction set, however they differ in microarchitecture. That's a lot of nerd bullshit that I don't understand.
Oh, wow.
To be completely honest.
How dare you?
As far as AMD goes, I personally have never really used decent AMD processors. If I rebuilt my PC today, I would give one of the newer AMD processors a go. Still would love to use an NVIDIA GPU, however.
I think he meant still would stick, but it says still would still.
Yeah, I'm willing to go in the deep and expand my experiences. However, I'm not insane.
I was putting a build together yesterday for someone that I spec'd out with it's an AMD CPU, but I still went an RTX 2060 because fuck AMD's cards, man.
Yeah, I've never dealt with them. My dad actually put in an AMD CPU in one of his more recent rigs at my recommendation. Because the price to performance ratio was when AMD was like kicking Intel in the nuts.
They kind of still are, man.
Well, they still are, but he ended up bringing it on. And one of the biggest issues for AMD CPUs, certainly some of the like more budget price to power versions, is they don't have an onboard GPU thing. Yeah, but so you know how some CPUs will have like a little thing. Yeah, but for gamers it doesn't matter. However, for people building a custom built rig, it is incredibly important for troubleshooting. So if there's an issue with your CPU or your GPU, having an onboard GPU with your CPU lets you diagnose that issue a lot easier. He couldn't do that with his AMD CPU, so he actually ended up sending it back because he had issues.
I've heard the argument as well that you can. It doesn't matter. You can just use any cheap GPU to test it. And I was like, I remember thinking that is true. But if there is something wrong with if there's something wrong and that signal can't get from that PCI slot that you've stuck the card in to the CPU, it doesn't matter what GPU you put in there. You can't get a fucking display anyway. So it's better to just have the iGPU.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that my dad is like no slouch when it comes to computers. He's an electrical engineer, and he taught me to build my PCs. So. Like this is a guy who knows his shit, and he just had issues troubleshooting. Like he's like an approved Microsoft tech. I don't know exactly what they're called for like certain softwares, and he like his whole thing is data analysis and building systems for businesses. He has like a really unique job. I can talk about it sometime more on podcast, but. The point that I'm trying to make is it's not like my dad's technologically inept either. Yeah. Like he gave it.
He knows enough to know that, it's not.
He knew enough to know that it was him with not having a GPU on his CPU that meant he couldn't figure out what was wrong. So, I mean, obviously there's probably ways around it and people will let us know. But anyway, he's back to an Intel rig now.
I'm going to take the next two from Crazy as well. Also, I love it. 4604. Vis, your camera blurred as you put your thumb up. It was an amusing visual gag. It wasn't a visual gag. You just have auto fucking focus on.
I had auto focus on.
Get rid of that shit. What's wrong with you?
It's actually real. It's so it resets. So it actually almost like zooms in and out. It's almost like a tiny edit.
Terrible. It's so annoying. I hate when mine does that. I turn it off. I have to turn it off every time I restart the computer as well because it turns back on.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why.
My footage might actually be quite clear. I turned the exposure way up or way down, and I've got a lot of natural light in the room, so it's going to look very smooth, which I'm very, very keen for.
The Limelight was written by Neil Peart, and you were right. It is about him being uncomfortable with the fame that Rush got and scrutiny that comes with it. It's a good song. In fact, I like a lot of their music. Note, Neil Peart passed away earlier this year. I thought he died recently. I wasn't sure though.
Rip Neil.
Rip Neil. Yeah, that was what I was talking about in the intro. Boomer music. Rush is like early 70s? Early 70s, I think they first started releasing music. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listening to this reading out Eyeholeman's comment made me weep. The coding, I think he might mean. He might be talking about the coding.
Yeah, maybe. It's just because I had no idea what he was talking about.
Don't forget, we won that game because the last bot died in the blue and then he was banned. Must have been all the bots reporting you.
Oh, okay. Well, now we have to touch on that.
Do we? I don't know. Do you want to make this a long one?
Do you? I feel like you have a lot to say about this.
Huh? No, I've already screamed about it enough on stream.
Oh, okay, well, give us a short version.
I was annoying the shit out of Hawkins on Twitter as well, and he ignored me the entire time. He also ignored Tina, who tweeted at him about it as well.
Rip. So the short version is you were banned from PUBG, and it's bullshit.
Man. You forgot Mono's comment. Metal Gear Solid 5 reference first, by the way.
Thanks, Mono.
He's talking about the description. It's only short. Kept you waiting, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. There's not really that much to tell. Like I was playing PUBG Monday and Tuesday night. Everything was fine, as far as I knew. Wednesday afternoon, came home, opened Steam. Steam tells me that I've got an in-game ban. I was like, what? So I went to have a look. From PUBG, I got in-game ban. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I went to have a look at the details. Followed the alert thing, show me the details. And it says, the reason you were banned that they were given, that Valve was given, was disruptive behavior. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like disruptive to other players, I'm guessing. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how.
What other players? It was a game full of bots.
Yeah, the game is mostly full of bots at the moment. So it's like, maybe like, because we've been coming across the same people over and over because of how low the player count is. Like the player base is tiny now, see. So maybe the same people over and over we're coming across, they kept getting slapped by us and, they just got salty and started reporting. So anyway, I was like, all right, fucking, I'll go, let me have a look at this further. So I went into my Steam support thing, blah, blah, blah. And it has a link there, your recent game ban, because obviously I have one. When I tried to open it, it wouldn't tell me anything. It just says, looks like you may have reached this page by mistake because we have no bans on record. It's like, oh, well, maybe it was a mistake then.
Obviously goes without saying, you don't use any sort of tools or anything like that.
Me?
You stream
No.
your gameplay.
I stream all the time because I think for me to cheat would be not only very stupid, it would be difficult to get away with, extremely difficult to get away with on stream, because of the way my setup, is. I've got two PCs, so everything that's on my monitor, my main monitor, is pushed to the Elgato. There's no room for over. I'm not like the only way people get away with walls and stuff like that. I think is by using game capture. So they're only capturing the game window and nothing that's overlaid on top of it.
Yeah.
That's how every now and then people get caught out if they switch to like screen capture or whatever, because then everything that they're seeing is what stream's seeing. So then people see their, see the little markers through the walls and whatever else. But anyway.
Yeah.
What's the other one? The other one is like ESP is a pretty common one as well. So they have like on a separate monitor, they have whatever, like a map or something. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but
and it's got the position of all the people.
It shows you where people are, yeah. And I think there are ones that show you like where certain loot is, like it'll show you where certain guns and shit are on the map. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of them to sort of fully understand how they work. But whatever the case, I don't think my gameplay, anyone who's actually seen it, would come across as me cheating, because if I was cheating, then I'm a fucking terrible player to play like this.
My scoreline does not reflect me cheating.
So anyway, no, I wasn't cheating. Not that means anything, because I think anyone who was caught cheating would say the same thing. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I opened the game up and it says you've been banned for 72 hours, and the reason given was unusual gameplay. Was it unusual gameplay patterns or something like that? And I was like, wait, that's the cheating ban. That's the one you get when you've been reported for cheating.
I
was like, who the fuck? Why would I be reported for cheating? Who's done this? So I screen capped it and I dumped it on Twitter, and I was like, Hawkins, can you tell me like what the fuck is this from reports from people, or does the system just decided that I've been slapping bots
Hawkins,
down too hard?
He's a PUBG rep, yeah.
He's I think he's like a community manager or something like that. I don't know. He's the guy that you see on Twitter all the time anyway, talking to people about stuff that's upcoming and problems they're having and whatever. Yeah. And the reason that I tagged him is because I've seen him interact with other people for basically the same thing, and I've seen their bans get lifted. But not mine.
Not yours.
Nope, not mine. He ignored me the entire time, and my ban was there right up until, I think yesterday I checked it and I had 3 hours left. I was like, all right, well, I don't really care now. It doesn't matter. So I'm probably going to be a smart ass later and tag him again and say, hey, just wanted to thank you for the assist. Thanks.
Cheers for the help.
Yeah, thanks for actually looking into this ban that I got, and I feel like it was just an automated. Like, enough people probably reported me that it was automated. It just went, all right, we're going to give you a 3-day timeout while we say that we look into things, but don't actually. Because I can see a lot of people getting a 3-day ban and going, oh, what the fuck, but they're not actually doing anything about it. Someone else said to me, I mean, of course, there's always that one guy who's like, well, if you got banned for cheating, then obviously you were cheating. It's like, why would I draw so much attention to it? Why, if it was only 3 days and I was cheating and I got caught, why wouldn't I just say, well, I don't feel like playing PUBG, I'm going to play something else? Like, there's so many ways that I could just work around that. Not drawing attention to it would be the best thing. If you actually were caught cheating, especially streaming, like having yourself out there like that, your fucking face, your life out there. Why would you want to draw more attention to it? Yeah, you would try and like sweep it under the fucking rug. I don't feel like playing PUBG today, guys. Yeah, just go play Tarkov, play fucking something. I'm
going to play Fall Guys.
But no, I fucking made a little bit of noise about it because it fucking annoyed me that like the communication was so terrible. The Steam reason was different to what was in game. There's no way of like, you can contact support about it, but they just give you generic responses like, no, this ban was correct. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, it fucking wasn't. And they're like, we don't give details. Like, I don't need.
That's
details.
Another frustrating thing as well. Is it's a guilty until proven innocent methodology.
But also, there's no way to prove your innocence. You just
correct.
You just go fuck yourself. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. Anyway, if you would like to yell at us on Twitter, you can yell at us at Titan_5150 or at Viserys TV. You can also see us yelling at you guys live, twitch.tv/T1 TAN5150 and twitch.tv Viserys TV. We also got the NULLSCORE Podcast on YouTube, where you can check out the video version, and the audio version should be available on all good audio distributors over the next couple of weeks, if not days. Anything else you want to say before we jump out, Tim?
Tim.
Oh, dude.
It's time to fucking gain 50 kilos and shave my head.
Like an egg in a prairie.
Oh,
that's one of my favorite clips on Twitch, I'll be completely honest. What, yeah. Anything else?
No, dude. I'm just now I'm fucking dragged down again because I like that cheating thing just fucking really annoys me. It really annoys me how that all gets handled. Pisses me off.
There you go. We'll see. Maybe we'll get an update next week. See what's going on.
Well, I mean, I'll be unbanned now, so there's no update to give. Like,
well, maybe they'll let us know if there's been any false bans or something. That's what I'm saying. Whether there was an update that was pushed that fucked it all up a little bit.
Maybe. And see if it starts happening to anyone else. Anyway, fuck that. Fuck that bullshit. That's annoying.
Anyway, we'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Mate, usually I would be doing the outro part right here, but I have got the killer coffee shits, so I am gonna stand on up.
Oh mate, go fucking paint the porcelain brown.
BRB, I'm hitting the red button.
Alright, see ya, man.